Move over Dua Lipa, we got new rules for Eurovision 2026. We also had the artist release for Latvia's Supernova. We're getting the first songs of the Eurovision 2026 season from Festival Kungas today. And we've also got tons of national film news to check out. We need a Eurovision 2026 news update. Let's kiki. Hi, my name is Tom, I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst, and you can find all of this stuff in my Eurovision channel. I'm so proud of myself. I did that whole intro in one go. Before we start, quick plug, I've just put my Eurovision 1992 review up on Patreon. Go check that out with all the original audio. There's going to be so much copyright on that. And if you want to see it early, you can go check that out. You can also buy access to the folder if you want to see all of my old Eurovision reviews, but you don't want to join Patreon. Also, shout out to those who joined me for my impromptu live stream today. We had this big flurry of news about these new rules, so it was really, really good just to chat it out with everyone and see what everyone's thoughts were. So first up, the main story is that we have these new rules for Eurovision 2026, voting overhaul announced. Following a period of extensive consultation with EBU members, new measures will be introduced in the Eurovision Song Contest's voting framework ahead of the next competition in May. So let's go through these key changes. The first one is clearer rules on promotion. The voting instructions and code of conduct for the competition, which all participating broadcasters must abide by, are being strengthened to further protect the contest from attempts to unfairly influence the vote. The updated voting instructions support appropriate promotion of the artists and their songs, which is very much part of the professional music industry, but discourage disproportionate promotional campaigns, particularly when undertaken or supported by third parties, including governments or government agencies. Participating broadcasters and artists are not permitted to actively engage in, facilitate, or contribute to promotional campaigns by third parties that could influence the voting outcomes, and as outlined in the updated Code of Conflict, any attempts to unduly influence the results will lead to sanctions. So in case you don't know, this is a reaction to what happened in the last couple of years with Israel, where they've had these huge government-funded ad campaigns telling people to vote for them 20 times. So this appears to be the EB's attempt to restrain that. The wording of it is interesting. So discourage disproportionate. So what is disproportionate? Like, where's the limit? Are we going by numbers here, or is it just like a gut feeling of when does it cross the line into disproportionate? How are we discouraging? What's going to happen if someone does do this? Are they going to be told that they're naughty, or is something more solid going to happen? They're basically saying here that promotion is part of the music industry, but they don't want it to become like a government funded thing, give this huge advantage of having a government pump in millions of dollars to artificially promote a song. Let's go to the next one before I give you my thoughts on this. Fewer maximum votes. As part of the annual review of voting, changes have been made to the system to support audience participation. For the 2026 contest, the maximum number of votes per payment method, online, SMS, and phone, will be reduced from 20 to 10. Fans will be actively encouraged to share their support across multiple entries. So really, really interesting change here. So one of the ways that Israel abused the voting system last year was pushing for people to vote 20 times. This was in that advertising campaign. So many people suggest reducing this limit down. Myself and others also suggested that there could be a cap on voting for one country. You could have that 20 vote stays, but you can't vote for one country more than 5 times. We're thinking that the reason they haven't done that is because it's probably not possible on SMS and phone voting. I think with online and app voting, you could say to someone you have 20 votes, but you can only give a maximum of 5 to one country and the rest need to be spread amongst others. But I don't think that works with SMS and phone voting. It's been reduced to 10 votes now, but you can still give all 10 of those votes to one country. I think some of the broadcasters probably would have been saying we don't want to get rid of SMS and phone voting because that might isolate certain viewers who don't want to vote online or don't have the habit of voting online. An interesting line at the end here is this: fans will be actively encouraged to share their support across multiple entries. So I wonder, is that going to take the form of the host, for example, saying, please spread your votes? At the end of the day, pro-Israel people are just going to ignore them if it's something as simple as that, because a lot of these people aren't even watching the contest. They've just been told to vote 20 times to own the libs or for whatever reason. So I wonder what that means and what form that will take, but I don't think that aspect of it's going to be effective. Okay, a third change: enhanced technical safeguards. Alongside these enhancements, the EBU will continue to work closely with its voting partner Once to expand the contest's advanced security systems, which detect and prevent fraudulent or coordinated voting activity, and strengthen monitoring of suspicious patterns to maintain trust in the results of the audience votes. So They're saying they're going to look out for any dodgy voting. I don't think that Israel is resorting to dodgy voting. I don't think they're buying lots of SIM cards. What I think they're doing instead is mobilizing people who support them and then getting them to vote multiple times. So I don't know if this is going to be effective, but this is probably something that they heard back from the broadcasters, and this is their response to it. So there's one more change which we'll talk about in a sec. These first three changes though, what do I think about them? I think this is largely to try and appease broadcasters. So we have this General Assembly coming up on December 4th and 5th. This appears to be an attempt by the EBU to try and placate them, to lure them into the contest, even if Israel were to participate. So I don't think that this is going to be effective in deterring Slovenia, Spain, Ireland, and Netherlands, because their main argument was they don't want Israel in because of the genocide. They did have some issues also with the vote manipulation, etc., but this doesn't address the core problem that they had. But then there were some other broadcasters who potentially did have more issues with that, so maybe this will appease them. Maybe the EBU is hoping that this will sway some countries if it was to come to a vote in December. Okay, before we talk about that vote, let's talk about this fourth change, which I don't think is related to Israel. I think it's a separate issue. It is about jury changes and juries coming back to the semi-finals. Professional juries of music experts will return to the semi-finals for the first time since 2022, creating a roughly 50-50 split between jury and audience votes as in the grand final. This change is intended to encourage the optimal music balance and diversity in songs that qualify for the grand final, ensuring that high quality entries with broad artistic merit are recognized alongside those with popular appeal. So in case you don't know, in 2022 there was a jury scandal where 6 juries were basically cheating in the semi-finals. I already did a video about that, so go check it out if you haven't seen it. The reaction to that was to remove the juries from the semi-finals. Now they're bringing them back. So people might ask, well, what's changed? What's going to stop these countries from cheating again? And the response to that is the number of jurors will increase from 5 to 7. I think that aspect is the key response. They're saying, okay, we're making the juries bigger, so it's harder to rig. There's more people. There's more chances that someone's going to be a whistleblower. Also, if you increase from 5 to 7, it's easier to look statistically if there's some dodgy results. Because if 7 people are voting the same, that's even more suspicious than 5 people voting the same. So why are they bringing juries back to the semi-finals? Well, in my live stream, some people were suggesting that this is because of smaller countries. San Marino, we know, have been very, very vocal about how they're treated as a small country. Potentially Malta, Iceland, some of the other smaller countries complaining as well. They could potentially be arguing that they are negatively affected by having televote only. We know that Malta in particular has really, really struggled since 2022. The range of professional backgrounds that jurors can be chosen from will be expanded to include music journalists and critics, music teachers, creative professionals such as choreographers and stage directors, and experienced music industry figures. So this is interesting. I didn't realize that there was a constraint on who could be considered a music professional prior, but apparently there was. Potentially this is from countries complaining that it's hard to find jurors, that the specifications for them were too restraining. So this expands it. I like this concept of choreographers and stage directors being included because they'll have more of an eye for choreography. And I think that choreography is really underlooked at Eurovision. I think a lot of the girly bops where you have artists doing complex choreography while singing is underappreciated by juries. So I like that that might get a little bit more credit. Performances that have a lot of movement but still maintain a strong vocal, that is incredibly technically difficult, and I don't think it's appreciated enough, so I like that. Another change is that to reflect the appeal of the contest with younger audiences, each juror will now include at least 2 jurors aged 18 to 25. This is a great change. I really, really like this. I remember Rachel did an analysis of the jury in 2023, I think it was, and she found that the average juror age was 44. Nothing wrong with that, but I remember when she did it that there were very, very few jurors who were aged under 25. So I think this is really, really good. I think there should be representation from all different age groups. I would love them to have a rule that there has to be more of a spread amongst different generations. Again, finally, all jurors will have to sign up to a formal declaration to confirm that they will vote independently and impartially, will not coordinate with other jurors before the contest, and be mindful of their social media use, i.e. not sharing their preferences online before the contest concludes. Yes, I welcome this change. In case you don't know, Alika, her votes were disqualified this contest because she was sharing it on social media. We had a couple other people, I think Latvia and Ireland had, I don't know what the reasons were, but in 24 they both had 1 juror removed. Maybe it was for the same reason. So I think this is a good thing. Personally, I think there's bigger issues with the jury. If you see my jury health videos, I've shown that some countries' juries are clearly collaborating on their votes. They have the same number one, the same number two, the same number three. There's clearly conversations going on in the room. So as much as I appreciate this, I think it's avoiding a bigger issue, which is that jurors need to be separated. They need to be able to keep their own personal opinions and judge the songs and not be influenced by people in the room. There's way too much chat going on in some of these juries. It's so obvious. So yeah, this is a big change for the semi-finals. I think some countries who've really struggled with the televote only system will be breathing a sigh of relief. I'm lukewarm on this. I'm neither happy nor disappointed. I remember doing a video comparing who would have qualified televote only versus jury only. I remember at the end asking people which of these groups would you prefer, and the results were 50-50. But generally, I think a combined system is pretty good at picking out the best songs. Also, in my jury analysis video from 2024, I argued that televote only semi-finals eliminated more jury bait entries, which meant that it was easier to have a big jury winner in the final because some of their rivals were eliminated in the semi-finals. We've seen in the last 3 years that the jury winners won the contest. We haven't had a televote winner since 2022. I wonder, could this change be a potential reaction to that? I think they want the televote winner to win this year, and I think they want it to be a legitimate televote winner and not something rigged. I still think the fact that we need to have so many rule changes just to accommodate one country just shows how much that one country has brought the contest into disrepute. Like, we've never had to have such massive rule changes just because one country is trying to rig the contest this much. It's really, really crazy. Okay, let's next go to an open letter that Martin Green has written to the Eurovision fan community following this announcement of these voting changes. Now, first of all, I'm going to be devil's advocate here because there is a tendency to kind of heap on the EBU and be very critical, but I still think that when they do something positive, we should laud that. And when they do something negative, yes, people do have the right to criticize. But I think it is great that Martin is writing a letter to the fan community. Let's be real for a second. We are such a small percentage of the viewing figures of Eurovision. Yes, we do make up a core part of the mood and the atmosphere. But at the end of the day, if he wanted to tell us to go F ourselves, we'd have no recourse. We'd have to go F ourselves. So the fact that he's actually writing a letter and acknowledging us, I think that's something that should be lauded. I'm not saying I love the content of it, but they don't have to acknowledge our existence, and they are. It's a small victory. So he's largely just summarizing all of these changes that are happening. One of the clearest messages we received was the need to strengthen trust in the fairness of the contest. In response, we undertook the most extensive review of our voting framework in recent years, consulting widely with heads of delegations and many director generals from participating broadcasters. We also want to make it crystal clear that proven attempts to unduly influence results will not be tolerated and will be called out. There's still no clarification exactly on what the punishment's going to be. Like, if you do one of these big campaigns, what's going to happen? Are you going to be disqualified? Are you going to get some points deducted? What's going to be the actual outcome? So in this paragraph, he's talking about the votes being reduced from 20 to 10. This is an important change which recognizes that although the number of votes previously allowed did not unduly influence the results of previous contests, there were concerns expressed by participating broadcasters and fans alike. So they're saying nothing happened, but we're going to change it for you because you brought the concerns up. Again, bringing up this, we will actively encourage audiences who wish to use the maximum 10 votes allowed to support across several competing songs and artists. So again, is that going to be something on the app? Is it going to be some sort of SMS notice when you voted for someone 5 times? Hey, why not vote for someone else? I don't know. I don't think that aspect's going to work. Okay, this paragraph talks about returning juries to the semi-finals. Another quick note on why they chose 7 members and they didn't expand it to 10 or 20. If you expand the jury to 10, 15, 20, it starts to dilute its effect as being something that allows niche voices. The televote and the jury are meant to be different. And one of the ways that the jury is unique is that if you have one member who has a niche taste in music, maybe they love rock music, maybe they love ethnic bops, they can rank a song first, second, third, and it's going to get some jury points. If you make the jury larger and larger, that niche person's point of view gets watered down and they no longer have that power. We don't want the televote and the jury to be the same. If they were the exact same, it would be super boring. They're meant to be different. That's what makes the show more exciting, is that they're 2 different systems. So I think 7 is a good compromise to increase it so that there's less chance of rigging, but not take away that power for niche voting. And then this paragraph at the end has an interesting change. Governments do not participate in Eurovision Song Contests, artists do. Artists backed by public service broadcasters who are not responsible for the decisions and actions of their government. So this is a change up because previously they've been using the line, countries don't compete in Eurovision, broadcasters do. They seem to have scrapped that. That was a terrible PR decision by whoever came up with it. Now they've changed it to artists backed by public service broadcasters are not responsible for the decisions and actions of their governments. I still think this is super naive. Pretending that there's no politicization or that you aren't representing your country. You're standing up there with your country's flag. So the artist is not responsible for the government's actions. They're still representing the country as its political entity. So acting like that flag being up on stage has no relevance whatsoever. It just doesn't make sense. If you applied that same logic, well then why can't Russia and Belarusian artists compete? They're not responsible for what their government does. Just to clarify, I agree that Belarus and Russia should be banned, but this contradicts that. Why are Russia and Belarus kicked out then by this logic? So this is not consistent. Again, though, still needs to be lauded the fact that he's even bothering to talk to us. He doesn't have to talk to us. So yes, let's continue to laud the positives and criticize the negatives. Okay, let's go to some of the reaction and fallout from these new rules. First up, NRK announced that the EBU has cancelled the Israel vote. It will take place if the broadcasters decide that these new measures aren't enough to sustain Israel's participation. In case you don't know, there's going to be a General Assembly in the EBU on December 4th and 5th. I think it was scheduled that there would be a vote. They've removed that now, but it's still possible that one will happen. For example, Spain or Ireland could put up their hand and say, we are not happy with this, we want a vote. That's the only way to break this deadlock. So a vote could still be introduced. It's just not automatically going to be there by default, as it was previously. Keep in mind, we were going to have a vote in November online, and that was cancelled. So it's not automatically going to happen. Someone needs to bring it up in the assembly. And just to clarify that, the EBU has confirmed in a statement to SVT that a vote on who is allowed to compete would take place if members do not believe the rule changes announced are sufficient. So basically you can see that the EBU are putting in these rules to try and placate some of the broadcasters. Is it going to work? We'll find out on December 4th. We have a reaction here from Slovenia. This is RTV Slow. I've translated this article from Slovenian. Here's a line here. While some members, including RTV Slovenia, insist that they will not participate in the event if Israel is also present, others were ready to discuss changes. So it appears that Slovenia are unchanged. Again, their main reason was Israel's genocide. So these voting changes don't change that. They just change the voting manipulation. Okay, we have an update from RTE, Ireland's broadcaster. They've responded to today's news with a similar statement first issued in October. Clearly, events in the Middle East are unfolding day by day. As previously confirmed by the EBU, the issue of participation in the 2026 Song Contest has been included on the agenda of the EBU Executive Board's Ordinary Winter General Assembly, which will take place in December. So no real massive statement there, but I'm not personally expecting RT to change their stance. The statement that they made before had huge public support. It was very much congratulated. RT don't get that much praise. I think they really would have noticed how much praise they were getting for it. And again, the issues that RT brought up have not been addressed. So I'm expecting RT to stay with their same stance, but no official statement on that yet. And we have a statement from VRT, one of the Belgian broadcasters. They have reiterated that they will decide their participation after the EBU General Assembly next December. So nothing solid from them. They want to wait and see what happens in that assembly on December 4th. I would kill to go to that assembly on December 4th. I assume we're going to get leaks afterwards about what was said and done. Let's next go to Spain's reaction. We have Jose Pablo Lopez, who is the president of RTVE, Spain's broadcaster. In this tweet, he's responding to comments that Austria's broadcaster ORF had reached out to them to try and come up with some sort of a solution. He said they haven't called here. The president of Austrian TV ORF has indeed met with the president of Israel to make clear the politicization of the contest. Wasn't this supposed to be a festival where countries didn't participate, but rather the broadcasters? That's what the EBU said. So in case you don't know, he's making reference to this meeting between the Director General of ORF and the Israeli president. I'll translate this for you as well as I can. For some reason, Twitter's not auto-translating it. Amidst the debate on participation of Israel in Eurovision 2026, the president of ORF, the host broadcaster, is meeting with the president of Israel and the president of Cannes. And here's a picture of them all shaking hands. Like, this is crazy. One of the main criticisms that I and other people who want Israel removed is that we're politicizing the contest. But in reality, we're actually just reacting to how much Israel has politicized the contest. Herzog interfering again. He also interfered in 2024. In 2024, they sent a song that needed to be written multiple times because it was too politicized. In 2025, they got around that loophole by sending an artist with a politicized story because they knew that they couldn't do the lyric thing. And then both years doing the mass advertising campaigns with the vote manipulation. So Israel has just politicized the contest constantly in the last 3 years. And this is just further proof, inviting the host broadcaster to Israel. What kind of whining and dining went on, what kind of exchanges were made. This is insane politicization of the contest, once again bringing into disrepute. And for me, this just shows that as many rules as the EBU might bring in, Israel are going to look at the rules and just push them to the absolute limits. They will contort them so they're still abiding by them, but just they'll push them the absolute maximum they can to politicize Eurovision for their PR gains. The better PR Israel has, the more ethnic cleansing they can do. When the perception of them is bad, they need to dial things back. When people are on their side, they ramp things up. And Eurovision is perfect for them because they can manipulate this televote, give the impression of a thumbs up from the whole of Europe, when actually it is a mobilized minority. Now, okay, enough about all that so much drama. Let's move on to happier stuff. And we have the 24 artists announced and their song titles for Supernova 2026. Two semi-finals will be held on February 3rd and February 10th, which will see 5 artists qualify from each show to the final on February 14th. So 10 artists in the final. Let's have a look at some of these names. Most standout one for me is Emilia, who I believe won The Voice or X Factor in Latvia. She came second last year with her song Heartbeat, which had a real Scandi pop feel for me. So she's back, really looking forward to what she's got, All We Ever Had. We also have Robert Ox, who is from Citizieni, which I always say wrong. I learned how to say it and now I've forgotten. But he's going solo. His song is called Raving at the Taj Mahal. I'm already getting good televote point vibes from that. Shout out to ESC Burnsides from my Patreon who helped go through all the other returning artists. From Elpo, we have a former Junior Eurovision contestant from 2011. She's part of that group. Legsdina was in last year with a song called The Water. I remember the song. I don't remember her being in though. She's back with a song called Ribbon. Edvards is a contestant from 2024. Papira, Mix, Agnese have all been in before apparently. I gotta admit now, I've only really become a huge fan of Supernova recently, so I only recognize Emilia and Robert, but apparently there's several other returnees coming back. We've also got a healthy amount of Latvian language songs here as well. Diviada, Enya, Blakus, Teo and Tagad. Sorry Latvians for ruining your language. Deot Vien. I don't know if this song is. This is a very interesting song title. Hashtag 010126 Coda. And then we have Vaitash Ikadzbrunim. So nice amount of songs in Latvian. No Sudden Lights, surprisingly. It was reported that they submitted a song. Maybe it didn't make the cut. I'm not sure. But less big names, I think, this year. I still think we could get a really, really wonderful entry from Latvia. Some of the songs have already been released. I think around 6 or 7 of them are already up on YouTube. There's also snippets if you want to hear short snippets for all of these songs. I'm personally waiting. I don't like snippets because they're kind of spoilers. I want to wait until the full songs are released, which is going to be on December 4th, I believe, which is the same day as the first day of the General Assembly. So December 4th is popping. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to checking out the songs. Of course, I'm going to do a full review of all of them. Make sure that you're subscribed down below so you don't miss it. Also, they've expanded to 24 artists. So I think they felt the momentum of last year. Hopefully them expanding is a sign that the quality is pretty good. We're gonna have 12 songs on each semi. Only 5 of them are getting through. So over half are gonna be cut per semi. Yes, the competing entries will be released on December 4th. So really, really exciting. Okay, we're also getting our first songs of the Eurovision 2026 season today. They're coming from Festival of Kungas. They might already be released by the time I release this video. I think last year they were released around 7:30 p.m. And one artist who is not going to be there is Egzion Perecci. He's withdrawn due to personal reasons. This is a real standard thing for Festival of Kungas. We pretty much always get one withdrawal. I remember one of them last year was Keishi Tola. So it still seems there's a lot less withdrawals this year than there was last year. But yes, he said it was nothing to do with the festival's organization and he thanks them for their understanding. So hopefully whatever personal issues he has are going to be resolved. But yeah, actually only one withdrawal at this point. We're doing better than we did last year. Okay, let's get us some information about the contest. Information on ticket sales and registration is going to be released on November 24th, so that's Monday. Postcards feature artists in their home countries getting immersed in Austrian scenery. And also they want 800 volunteers. So if you live in Vienna, get volunteering. And this is the postcard concept. So I'm assuming this is the artist, they're gigantic, sitting in a lake. And then it has them at home. So this is the French artist. They found a French giant sit in the lake, and then she's going to be sitting in her extremely expensive apartment. If you've got an apartment that has a full ass view of the Eiffel Tower, you do not need to go to Eurovision because you're already a millionaire. But she's sitting there looking at Austrian scenery. And then I'm not really sure what this graphic is. Maybe she's swiping through pictures, but yeah, like these are just super early concepts. So it's a pretty standard concept of looking at scenery from Austria, and then maybe they're transported there and they do stuff. So yeah, this seems like standard Eurovision postcard fare. Okay, let's check out all of the national final news. And first up, let's go to Benidorm Fest, which by the way is going to happen regardless of whether Spain are in Eurovision or not. Benidorm Fest is independent. And Sergio Jaén, who was the staging director for Bambi Thug and also the winning act last year, Wasted Love, he is going to direct 17 of the 18 stagings in Benidorm Fest 2026. Who is that one person who's like, I don't want Sergio Jaén? I'm so interested to see who's this one person who's like, no, I don't need you. I'm going on my own. Or what happens. So odd that 17 out of 18 would have him. But yeah, really excited to see Sergio Jaén in Benidorm Fest. I believe this is his first one. Last year he did UK, and then he also did the staging for Cyprus and Austria. This year, this is the only commitment I'm aware of him doing this year. I don't know if he's committed to any other countries yet. I actually thought the staging in Benidorm Fest last year was excellent. I love La Teresa, and loads of them had really iconic staging. So whatever team they already had was really good. And now Sergio Jaén is coming in to work with them. I think it's going to be an amazing show. So I really hope that Spain are going to be competing in Eurovision this year. Okay, next up, let's go to some news from Norway. They've announced that MGP will take place on the 28th of February. I can't remember. We're going to check the calendar at the end, don't worry. Was that the date? No, it's still the 21st of February that nobody wants to touch. And it's happening in Hawkins Hall in Lillehammer. I don't know if it normally happens. It usually happens in Oslo, doesn't it? So nice that they're changing venue. 9 artists will be revealed on January 19th. And then a 10th act will be chosen by the public through a radio duel between 8 artists on the 26th of January. So kind of doing something a little bit similar to what Ukraine did in recent years. The songs will be released on January 26th. So we'll already have that one from the radio, and then we'll get the other 9. Really hoping that MGP is better this year. Although I have seen some rumors that not too many Norwegian artists want to submit because of the Israel situation. That is unconfirmed rumors, but hopefully we get a little bit better quality this year. I thought that last year was particularly weak. I'm saying that as a super MGP stan. Okay, next up we have news from Bulgaria. BNT has signed a cooperation agreement with Profon. Profon will provide BNT with information on the top 40 most broadcast Bulgarian artists in the last 8 months. So very interesting approach. Based on this, artists will be invited to participate in their national selection held in January. So they're looking at who's hot in Bulgaria. They're going to send out invitations. The key thing is, are those artists going to say yes? Are they going to say, no thanks, we don't want to take part? Still, it's an interesting way to approach it. I'm not sure why they need to do this through Profon. Can they not just look up Spotify account or something? Maybe there's an aspect I'm missing, but yeah, it's an interesting process. At least they're trying something new. We still don't know what this national final is going to be called or what format it's going to take. Maybe they'll do this research first, see what they get, and then make a decision on what format it's going to take. Oh, I'm really losing my voice. Next up, let's go to Luxembourg. They revealed that the 8 songs competing in Luxembourg Song Contest will be released in mid-December. So excited. I do remember last year at Christmas wrapping presents while doing my Luxembourg analysis video. So I'm pretty sure that this is the same time that they did it last year as well. We're going to go through the calendar in a sec now and see how it's updated. Before we go there, let's look and see, are there any new artists from Melody Festivalen? Often Blooded reporting that we have indie pop rock artist Timo Räisänen, which sounds like a Finnish artist, potentially from Åland. We have Laila Adele, who previously was in Melody Festival in 2006. So she's coming back 20 years later. And then we also have Idol participant Clara Almström. I haven't heard of any of these people, but then again, I hadn't heard of Nomi Tales last year and she ended up being my favorite. So new artists can come and surprise. Let's get an updated look at this list. And we can see we're up to 29 names now out of 30. So last year they got 29 out of 30 right. I don't know if they're going to come up with the last one yet. But yeah, the list is looking pretty healthy. Shout out to Eurovision World. We're going to check out the calendar. There's 172 days left until Eurovision. And what is happening in November? Well, today we have, or maybe have had, the songs from Festival of Congas. You might be listening to them right now as we speak. We have the songs for Supernova being released on the 4th. Keep in mind, 6 or 7 of them are already released if you want to get started, with the songs for Luxembourg on the 12th. Keep in mind that the Winter Olympics is happening between, I think it's the 6th to the 22nd of February. Wallapalooza is happening in the middle of the Winter Olympics. Still nobody wants to have a show on the 21st of February. We need to get a show for February 21st. It's the day before the Winter Olympics ends. I wonder if that's the reason, because maybe they're showing the closing ceremony or something, so no one wants to put the show there. In any case, that's all of the Eurovision news for today. Thank God, because my voice is really, really going. What did you think? Leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Thank you to those who've been supporting on Buy Me Coffee, PayPal and YouTube Super Chats. If you want to support the channel, I'll leave a QR code here and a link in the description. And of course, thank you to my wonderful patrons and YouTube members for supporting from all across the world. Don't forget, my 1992 Eurovision reaction has just gone up. You can go check that out. But of course, thank you so much just for being here. I'm seeing another Eurovision news update very soon. Goodbye.